I have a little bugbear, and it's taken me a long time to share it, and I'm not entirely sure that I should or not, because I make products and I'm going to talk about other products. And that's not to like name and shame specific brands, because I actually don't own the brands that I'm thinking of. Because why would I buy them? And I haven't brought them along as like examples of things I don't like in the market. But what I've noticed is that the market, like Boots, the high street, Holland Barrett, you know, your average high street brand, the health and well-being business is booming. We all know this. And it grows year on year. And the product market is flooded with stuff. And things go in and out of fashion. But one thing that I've really noticed is that 99% of the brands out there aren't being founded by experts in the product. They're often founded by people who have just seen a gap in the market, frankly. And then they will go and they might try and employ someone who's an expert. But, well, my experience of trying to work with someone who's an expert in formulating was that even though I thought I'd found the perfect person, they had a background in South American medicine. Her family had practiced herbal medicine for years, and although she wasn't a herbalist, she was fully aware of what herbs are capable of. And I went to her, we were trying to produce a juice concentrate that you could like add to water, and that had herbs in. And I listed specific plants to be used, and unfortunately, she came back with a whole host of stuff that I hadn't recommended. This is kind of the inspiration. Like Pucker were making these incredible juice concentrates with herbs, and I loved the idea, and I was trying to make one of my own, but with women's herbs. And it's a very risky business making this video today, because I'm like absolutely surrounded by fire. She came back with a concentrate that had cranberry, it had sage, it had Agnus castus, it had just a whole bunch of things that she thought were like buzz ingredients in women's health. So that she was like, if we put all these things in, people will understand that it's for women's health. And I was like, yeah, but they don't make any sense together. Cranberry for a bladder infection, Agnus castus for PMS, sage for a perimenopausal person. I was like, what are you doing? And it was crazy and drove me just a little bit insane. And I have felt really despondent and upset by the inner workings of the health and well-being sort of product arena as a result. And what I've noticed, maybe this is my superpower, I think I can spot something on the high street that's made by a herbalist versus something that's not. So one of the tells that something probably wasn't made by a herbalist is that the product has loads of ingredients. Now, I'm going to hold this up, and this is not like to say this product is terrible. It's just an example. I like this product, and I drink this product through the summer months. It's looking, at its best. I'm really trying to make it look really good. So, yeah, M Powder makes this lovely protein powder that I like. It tastes kind of funky. It's got flavourings that aren't to everyone's taste. But a real tell that it's probably they consulted with a nutritionist, but it's certainly not been made by a herbalist, because it just has so many ingredients. So as soon as a product goes past I don't know, even when I'm making a bespoke blend for a patient, they'll have maybe 13 herbs at most, and it's quite unusual for a herbalist to go past that, but it does happen. It's just unusual. But when we make a product for over-the-counter use, generally speaking, there is a lot less, I'd say 7 or less ingredients. Most of my products have like 3 to 5 in, I think. And that's because the more ingredients you put in for the dose that you take for a supplement, the less you're having of each thing. One of the things I liked about this and this one was that the dose is very high. Like, you're taking a serious amount. And if they tried to put it in capsules, we'd have to have like 8 capsules a day or something ridiculous. So it is really good. I like this one for that. And it's simpler. So this was actually designed by nutritionists. There's a lot less ingredients in there, and the ingredients make sense together. And the dose is far greater. So they've managed to put in quite a lot of ingredients, but the dose is huge comparatively. Like, you're not having to drink, maybe it would be like 10 capsules of powder, but you're doing like a good tablespoon of it. So it makes more sense. When I see a herbalist blend on the counter, like Laz, for instance, she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ingredients, plus the fact that it's being extracted in vegetable glycerin. So that's 6 herbs in a blend like this. And she actually goes for quite big doses as well. She likes to use tablespoon once a day. I'm a funny one in that in mine, I've not used very many ingredients, so that's good. Like 3 to 5 ingredients means the dose of each one for each dose is bigger, but you take a relatively small amount of mine, which is more like what I saw when I was in America. So this is a good example. Wooden Spoon Herbs, which is made by a herbalist in America. She has, I assume it's she, by the way. Well, here we go. 1 rose, 2 passion flower, 3 oats, 4 hawthorn, and then the fact that it was in glycerin. So 4 herbs in this, so it's quite similar to mine. And then she recommends drop doses. So like that kind of amount. And you might have that like maybe up to 3 times a day, personally. I was really impressed when I went to, in America, where my husband's from, in California, there's Mexican supermarkets, and I found these blends. These must be made by herbalists. I mean, I have no idea, but must be. Because the ingredients actually make sense together. Chamomile, cinnamon, passion flower, linden, and valerian. Cinnamon might seem like an oddball in this blend where all of the rest of them are relaxants, and they're muscle relaxants, basically. And some of them are anti-inflammatory. But cinnamon helps to bring circulation where it needs to go and warm the body, and that generally is good in pain. The colder you are, the more painful things are, right? Like, and anyone who's used a hot water bottle to relieve pain knows how much warming the body can be of use. They have a menopause blend, which is red clover, chamomile, hops, lemongrass, licorice, spearmint, and yarrow, which is lovely. So the red clover and the licorice and the spearmint and the yarrow are all, and the hops, are all hormone balancing herbs in one way or the other. Some are anti-androgenic, some are pro-estrogen, just depends what you're wanting. And then they have things in there that are helping with stress and like long-term stress, which is amazing. That's exactly what like you want. And it's complementary, like things that are complementary, instead of these like silly blends that I see that are clearly just all the key ingredients that don't make any sense together. Cranberry and Agnus castus. Anyhow, so I would like to see more products on the shelves being made by herbalists, and one way that you can see that is that there's less ingredients. Another way is that the herbs make sense together, but I don't see how you would be able to tell that unless you were a herbalist, I guess. Even a lay herbalist would probably be able to tell, but you'd have to know your herbs. I would like us to be using, there's a stamp from the National Institute of Medical Herbalists that I use on mine, and I would like there to be a whole lot of products made by them. The other thing that I've been thinking about is how to protect herbal knowledge. How do we share information about herbs in a way that protects it from future deletion? So right now, a whole bunch of books are being banned in the US, as you may well be aware of, but also a whole host of like online content is being deleted by Trump around women's health. And there's a long history of women's health information and herbal information being deleted, burnt, like people being killed and murdered horribly to delete that information, to erase it from the world. And I've been thinking about how some information survives even when a people are targeted in this kind of way. And one example is like, how did African Americans maintain the cooking traditions that they had in a situation where they were constantly under threat for showing signs of their native cultures, and where they weren't able to write things down and pass things down orally instead. Another example that came to mind was the traditional herbal medicine of the Maori people and how that survived colonialism. I'm sure it's in like a much smaller, I imagine it's in a much smaller format than it was before colonialism, but how did that survive? And I keep coming back to oral traditions, and I think something called collective memory. And that's the idea that a concept, a narrative, a story, information can be known by so many people that there's no way of removing it from mass consciousness anymore. And it makes me think about how we, as herbalists, try to write down and record what we're doing. A lot of us blog, a lot of us share our information on the internet in one way or the other. But we're only reaching a tiny percentage of the population, of course. And I suppose one thing that I wanted to do with my products was reach more people by having product-based things, because it seems like we tend to be able to reach people more by participating in capitalism, essentially. And I wanted to participate it in an ethical way, in a way that spread the kind of information that I wanted to spread. And that was ethical from point A, all the way through the business, from how I conduct myself with the people I work with to what the products are made of, And I think a product would obviously really have to take off in order to create like mass conscious awareness of herbs being able to make an infusion or a decoction, or what does it mean to pick a plant and produce medicine from it? How do we do that? How do we get that information out there in the world in a way that means it can't be taken back? And I think right now I'm thinking probably like some sort of viral social media based format that's very short, snappy. And then I'd have to look at like what makes something go viral, which would be an interesting thing to take on. But I suppose I'm opening it up to the floor. I'm very interested in your input about information transfer, or any information or references you have about oral traditions, and how information survives attack and aggressive deletion and erasure. Yeah, it's one I'm pondering, shall we say. And I have some key terms that I'm searching for, but I'd love it if you have any information on the general topic, or thoughts, really, so that we can think together and move forwards my creative process from there. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my thoughts over a cup of tea today, and will joining me on the next thoughts that I have. And yeah, just make sure you follow on Substack. That's where these long form bits of content go, and you get emails about them when they go out. And we have some events coming up in 2026. I have my first online teaching thing happening in January, where I'm going to host more of a magical kind of vibe, a bit like today. and have everybody join me in my New Year journaling and reflections that I do each year. We're going to be guided by 4 herbal allies to give us questions of self-inquiry for the year. And it's not so much about setting goals and defining our new habits. It's more as carving out time for ourselves to ask the really important questions, because answers come naturally if you've asked the right questions. If we don't take the time of winter, the opportunity to self-reflect and be with ourselves and take time over cups of tea to just be.